We are officially after the NFL draft, but the Dolphins are still making moves. Miami has signed 15 undrafted free agents following the 2025 NFL draft. And on today's show, we are going to look at all 15 players, show you who the Dolphins signed, take a close look at a couple of them because I am higher on a couple of these guys, and I'm going to have a fun time watching them participate in minicamp in the preseason this upcoming summer. But we'll start by looking at the first group of 4 UDFAs. Noel, AJ Henning, Monaray Baldwin, and then Neeland Hibbett. Now, I'll say this quickly on Neeland Hibbett. A long snapper UDFA is electric. Blake Ferguson, watch yourself. But there was a clear theme with these UDFAs. We saw in the draft the theme was trenches and physicality. Well, in UDFAs, they went after a lot of position players. We'll talk about a couple of these guys here in just one second. But I appreciate everybody who subscribed to the channel over this weekend. It's been a lot of content, a long weekend for yours truly, and my guy Justin here producing the show, so appreciate him. But we did cross 69K subscribers. Hit that sub button for more content around the Dolphins every single day. I want to kind of hone in on one of these guys, and that's running back Nate Null. So obviously we saw the Dolphins draft Ollie Gordon in the 6th round of the NFL draft, and there was a clear direction with that pick, right? McDaniel said at the NFL Combine this year that they were going to add 2 or 3 running backs to this roster outside of Devon Achane and Jalen Wright. And they signed Alexander Madison, they drafted Ollie Gordon, and now they signed Nate Null. Now, the thing that is intriguing to me is Noel, he was a former App State guy, transferred to Missouri for this past season. That wasn't the only Missouri UDFA that the Dolphins signed. More on that in just a second. But you wonder if this is going to be the room. Now, I don't know if Noel's guaranteed to make the roster. He'll have to play well. But you know you've got those 4 set backs because Gordon will make it as that physical in-between the tackles runner that could also be beneficial in short yard situations. Also a very solid player in the pass protection and pass receiving game. So Noel's adding to that room, that 5th, 6th guy. We'll see if he could do anything when training camp rolls around. All right, the next page of 4 here are very, very interesting, and these are probably the biggest 4 names that we'll talk about here. B.J. Adams, the corner from Central Florida. Eugene Asante, the linebacker from Auburn. Jalin Conyers, the tight end from Texas Tech. And then Theo Wease Jr., the wide receiver from Missouri. So that was the other Tiger that the Dolphins signed in UDFA. But there is a couple players that are intriguing here. I want to start by talking about the cornerback, B.J. Adams from Central Florida, because he was a borderline draftable player. You see here at Chat Sports, we just had him outside of our 257, which was the amount of picks that was made. But this name might sound familiar to you. Why is that? Well, it's actually because about 3 weeks ago, B.J. Adams came to Miami Dolphins headquarters for a top 30 visit. So this is a player that Chris Grier, Mike McDaniel, they wanted to get more information on. And with the need at corner, you knew they were going to draft one. You knew they were going to add a couple in undrafted free agency. Adams, someone from the state, someone they wanted to get in the building. You see the scouting report on Adams. I'm going to be intrigued to see how he ultimately progresses here in this Dolphins organization. But like I mentioned, when you have a top 30 visit, that's someone Miami clearly valued and wanted to add to this group. All right, let me know. We're going to continue to look at some UDFA. You saw the first page of 8. Who is your favorite UDFA signing? Might be Adams, might be someone coming up here. But if you are not aware, maybe you wait and get him back and let me know. But get down in the comments and drop a name. All right, the next player we're going to get into is Jalin Conyers, the tight end from Texas Tech. This is someone that is a very good signing. You see it. He was a top 257 player, according to us here at Chat Sports. But the reason why he is so intriguing to me is because there is a clear want and need from the Dolphins organization to get Conyers in here. We actually saw him play a little bit of wildcat quarterback at Texas Tech as well in some situations. He is a really solid after-the-catch tight end. And you see it. He can be a good run blocker. Now, he needs to become a better route runner, which is why he probably went undrafted. But he's good with the ball in his hands, and he can block. Now, I mentioned this is clearly someone Miami wanted. Well, because when you get financials of these UDFAs out in the public eye, that tells me a lot about how coveted Conyers was across the league or by the Dolphins. He was given a $100,000 base as a UDFA and a $15,000 signing bonus. So with that type of money being thrown out to a UDFA, clearly someone Miami wanted to get into their building and get a look at during OTA's minicamp and training camp coming up in July. All right, more UDFAs to break down here, but we are sponsored by Mando, the whole body deodorant that I used all weekend long when it was on Swaney Studios. Oh yeah, I made sure that I was still smelling fine. And I'm looking forward to going outside golfing, playing basketball, and I'm looking forward to it even more because I've started using Mando whole body deodorant because unlike some other brands I've tried, it can actually handle anything. Clinically proven to control odor better than a shower with soap alone. 12 hours after a shower, the average man's Grundle odor level is a 5 out of 10. With Mando, the average Grundle odor level is a 0 out of 10. Mando Starter Pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, plus free shipping. And the product that I use the most this weekend and always have with me, it's those portable deodorant wipes. Whether I'm on the go, I have them in my car, whether I'm taking a trip to visit friends or family, or need it here in the studio on a long weekend during the NFL draft. I always have the deodorant wipes with me, and it is my favorite product they have. And as a special offer for listeners, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code CHAT. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack when you use code CHAT at shopmando.com. shopmando.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. I want to circle in on another UDFA from that second group of 4 we talked about, that being the wide receiver from Missouri, Theo Wease Jr. He was a productive wide receiver alongside Luther Burden at Missouri last year, but I talked about the money that was given to Jalin Conyers. How about the money that was given to Theo Wease Jr.? The Miami Dolphins locked him in at $230,000 following the NFL draft in undrafted free agency. So that is double what they gave to Jalin Conyers. And that was a player that I think Miami is very interested in and has plans to try to add to this room alongside Pharaoh Brown, Jonnu Smith, and Julian Hill. Now, you might ask, how in comparison is that money? Well, if you remember, go back to last year. The most prioritized UDFA that Miami ultimately signed after the draft was Storm Duck, the corner from Louisville. He played this year and made the 53-man roster and was a contributor down the stretch over Cam Smith. He got around $250,000 to $300,000 last season. So Theo Wease Jr. almost getting that same type of money they gave Duck, a player that Miami clearly wanted to add to this room and could see maybe pushing a Taj Washington, a Tariq Black, and Eric Ezukama for a roster spot this upcoming season. All right, next page of 4 here has some interesting names. John Saunders Jr., the UDFA safety. Ethan Robinson, a corner from Minnesota. Teddy Kushi, a lineman from Western Michigan. By the way, not the only offensive lineman from Western Michigan that we signed. I'll get to that in one second. But Andrew Armstrong, the wide receiver from Arkansas. Now, this is going to be a fun one. And we talked about Theo Wease having a chance to make the roster. I think it's going to be Andrew Armstrong. If I had to put money on one UDFA being on the 53-man roster, it would either be Andrew Armstrong or Jalin Conyers. Why do I like Armstrong so much? Well, he led the SEC in receiving yards last season with 1,100 yards at Arkansas. He had 72 receptions. Now, the weird thing about his numbers last season for the Razorbacks, he had 1,100 yards plus 72 catches. He only had 1 touchdown. So, little odd in that regard, but he has great size. He's 6'4". Yeah, 6'4". The one thing that he does struggle with is separating, but he had a pretty good contested catch rate last season for the Razorbacks. We'll likely dive into that more this week. But Andrew Armstrong, with the size he has at 6'4", the contested catchability that he displayed at the college level last season, the production that he displayed at last season, and then you look at the speed that he possesses as well, he is going to be a fan favorite, I believe. And when we get to preseason with those 3 games in August, boy, is it going to be fun to see Zach Wilson, Quinn Ewers throwing to Andrew Armstrong and some of these other wide receivers that the Dolphins signed in undrafted free agency to see who can make the roster. But as I have mentioned, Andrew Armstrong is my favorite UDFA signing. He might not be the one that makes the roster, even though I think it's going to be between him and Conyers from Texas Tech. Armstrong is my favorite. I think he's going to be an absolute blast to have in Miami. All right, we have 3 more UDFAs to show here in 1 second. But grade the Dolphins UDFAs that they have signed so far, A, B, C, D, or F. Get down in the comment section and let me know what your all thoughts are on this UDFA class. All right, final 3 players that we have to discuss here, all in the trenches. Alex Huntley, the UDFA defensive tackle from South Carolina. Addison West, the guard from Western Michigan. Remember, we got Teddy from Western Michigan as well, so that's 2 Western Michigan offensive linemen. Apparently, there had to be a scout watching a lot of MAC games last year. But then another offensive lineman, not from Western Michigan, but just Michigan. That's Josh Priebe, the interior offensive lineman from the Wolverines. And this is an interesting player that out of these 3, I would like to talk about a little bit more. Why is that? Well, it's because he actually is one of the most experienced offensive linemen at the college level last season. I was talking with my boss, James Yoder, who's a Michigan fan, on Josh, and he said that he originally started his career at Northwestern, started a gazillion games for the Wildcats, then transferred to Michigan and was a starter for them as well. So he was a leader on that offensive line. He has a ton of experience at the college level, and this is a guard that could come in and maybe make a name for himself. We know that Andrew Meyer, a long shot offensive lineman, has stuck on the roster the past year or change and so. And we'll see if Priebe can be someone who does that same thing here for the Miami Dolphins. But you saw a clear direction with these UDFAs. About 4 wide receivers, about a couple defensive linemen, and about 3 or 4 offensive linemen. So more trenches, position skill players. It's very fascinating. No quarterback, no quarterback, and then no linebackers. Really, those are the 2 positions that Miami. No edges either. Actually, the Dolphins didn't address edge at all in this draft. So they clearly have confidence in Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, Chop Robinson, and Mo Kamara coming back next year. Same thing with Quentin Bell. But make sure you're on the lookout because this week's going to still be an interesting one, folks. We're going to have more talk on this draft class. We're going to have rumors about free agents because I believe Miami is going to sign a corner this week. I've got my eye on Rasul Douglas, the corner from Buffalo. So hit that sub button because we'll have you covered all week long.